In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, a quiet but profound transformation was taking place in America's bustling cities. It began with waves of immigrants arriving from southern Italy, particularly Sicily, fleeing poverty, political instability, and a system that offered them little hope. They carried with them not just their few belongings, but also a deep-seated distrust of authority and a reliance on family and community for justice and protection. This was the fertile ground from which the American Mafia would slowly, almost imperceptibly, begin to grow. In the crowded, chaotic tenements of cities like New York, New Orleans, and Chicago, these immigrants faced a new set of hardships. They were met with prejudice, language barriers, and a legal system that often seemed foreign and unsympathetic. In this environment, informal systems of justice and mutual aid, similar to those they had known back home, began to take shape. Men of respect, known for their influence and ability to solve disputes, started to emerge. They weren't gangsters in the modern sense. They were arbitrators, protectors, and power brokers within their own communities. This early form of the mafia was not a monolithic organization. It was a loose collection of neighborhood gangs and secret societies, often based on kinship or village ties from the old country. Their activities were small-scale at first. They offered protection to local businesses, a service that was part extortion, part genuine security in neighborhoods the police barely patrolled. They mediated disputes, arranged jobs, and provided loans when banks would not. This was the era of the Black Hand, a method of extortion where threatening letters, stamped with a black handprint, would demand money from fellow Italians. It was crude, but effective, and it laid the groundwork for more sophisticated operations. These early groups operated with a code of silence, known as Omertà. Betrayal was the ultimate sin, and speaking to outside authorities was unthinkable. This code, combined with the community's general distrust of the police, created a wall of silence that made these groups incredibly difficult for law enforcement to penetrate. They grew in the shadows, resolving their own conflicts internally, often through quiet agreements, but sometimes through sudden, sharp violence that would ripple through the neighborhood before vanishing back into silence. The real catalyst for the Mafia's transformation from a collection of neighborhood gangs into a nationwide criminal empire was Prohibition. When the 18th Amendment outlawed the production and sale of alcohol in 1920, it created a black market of unprecedented scale and profitability. Suddenly, there was a nationwide demand for an illegal product, and the fledgling Italian-American gangs were perfectly positioned to supply it. The small-time protection rackets and local disputes were dwarfed by the immense profits to be made from bootlegging. This new, lucrative enterprise required a level of organization and cooperation that had never existed before. Gangs that once competed over street corners now had to work together to establish smuggling routes, operate secret breweries and distilleries, and manage a complex distribution network of speakeasies and corrupt officials. This period saw the rise of legendary figures like Al Capone in Chicago and Charles Lucky Luciano in New York. They were businessmen as much as they were criminals, applying principles of corporate organization to their illegal enterprises. The immense wealth generated by bootlegging allowed the mafia to expand its influence dramatically. They used their money to bribe police officers, judges, and politicians, creating a network of corruption that protected their operations and ensured their continued growth. The violence also escalated. The quiet, internal disputes of the past gave way to bloody turf wars, as different factions fought for control of the lucrative liquor trade. The infamous St. Valentine's Day massacre in 1929 was a shocking public display of this new level of brutality. As Prohibition neared its end in 1933, the more forward-thinking leaders knew they needed a new strategy. Lucky Luciano, in particular, recognized that the constant infighting was bad for business. After a bloody conflict known as the Castellamarese War, Luciano orchestrated a major restructuring of the mafia. He abolished the old boss of all bosses title and established the Commission, a board of directors composed of the heads of the major crime families. This was a revolutionary step. The Commission was designed to regulate affairs between the families, approve new ventures, and mediate disputes to avoid the costly gang wars of the past. It effectively turned the Mafia into a national crime syndicate, a kind of underground government with its own laws and enforcement. With Prohibition over, the families, now organized and flush with cash, diversified their portfolios. They moved into illegal gambling, loan sharking, labor racketeering, infiltrating and controlling labor unions and drug trafficking. They also invested their illegal profits into legitimate businesses, like construction, trucking and waste management, using them to launder money and create a respectable public face. From the quiet desperation of Italian immigrant neighborhoods, a powerful and resilient criminal organization have been forged. It grew slowly, nurtured by poverty and prejudice, then exploded in power thanks to the unique opportunity of Prohibition. Through a combination of strict internal codes, strategic violence, and corporate-like organization, the American Mafia established itself as an enduring and influential force in the nation's underworld. Its story is not just one of crime, but of adaptation, ambition, and the creation of a dark, parallel version of the American dream. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this history interesting, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel for more deep dives into fascinating stories from the past. See you next time.